Hello and welcome back to Stitchcraft. Although this is not a Stitchcraft video, I wanted to, since I am now well through my first trimester of pregnancy, I just wanted to go in and give, I don't know, kind of like my thoughts and feelings and everything I went through. So if you are into learning more about pregnancy and other people's experiences, continue watching. If not, and you're just here for the yarny things, come back next week and we will be back, hopefully, with another video. Actually, next week we won't be because I have 2 appointments on a Wednesday back to back because that was the only time I could fit them in with my work schedule. Anyways, come back for a different video and not this one. In this video too, we're gonna be getting, I know that I've talked a lot about my pregnancy, mostly like symptoms and other things throughout at the end of like my Stitchcraft videos, my weekly updates. They have not been weekly as of late. This one we're gonna get more into the nitty gritty. So if you don't like talking about bodily functions or bodily changes, possibly some strong language. So if you're younger and you can't listen to strong language or you don't like it, you can just skip this. I'm not going to be offended, but I just wanted to have this mainly for my sake, but also, my child, one day they'll grow up and they'll be like, Mom, what's it like to be pregnant? When they're a teenager, and I can pull this out and say, this is exactly what it was like when I was pregnant with you. And there's BB and Johnny, of course, running to their little spot. I can say this is what my experience being pregnant was like. Because you see it on TV and you see, the shows, and you talk to a lot of other moms. A lot of the like Instagram famous moms either they don't show the terrible side of being pregnant, or they're a part of the really lucky bunch that has it easy. But for me and my family, we have the unfortunate genes of having terrible first trimesters, at least. I keep telling everyone I never, ever, ever want to do this again. It's definitely the hardest thing I have ever done in my life, both physically and mentally, and just really like spiritually too. It's been a roller coaster as well, just with all the things. So I guess we could start at the very beginning when we found out I was pregnant. So funny story, we were actually sitting in church and we had like kind of been trying, like we knew that we wanted to start trying for kids, so we did. I love when people say start trying for kids because that just means, hey, you raw dogging it, you're going at it. But me and my husband think that's funny that people say we were trying for kids. But anyways, so we knew that we wanted to start trying soon because a lot of things had lined up. I had gotten a good job again that was flexible. Emmer's work had moved us out to Utah, and we knew that we wanted to be close to my family when we started having kids. More so at the time, it was for like support when the actual baby was here, because we know it takes a lot of work, and both of us are still gonna have to work. Emmer will be able to work full-time, and then I'll have to work in at least some part-time capacity to be able to keep all the bills and stuff paid and to have, a fun, happy life. So we knew we needed some help with that. Anyways, Emmer's work transferred us out to Utah, so we came out here and moved finally. I shouldn't say finally because we absolutely loved Colorado and we miss it and our friends very much. I'm sorry, BB is in a play mode right now, so she's being very loud. Anyways, we started trying the day after Valentine's Day, actually. So February 15th, we know the day we conceived, which is really funny because a lot of people don't know that. But yeah, so that's actually the day I originally thought, because this is my first pregnancy, I didn't know anything. I thought that was day one, and that was like the day I got It turns out it's not. You have to go back to when your last menstrual cycle was, and then that's technically your day one of pregnancy, was your last the last day of your menstrual period or whatever, your menstrual cycle or your period. We're all adults here. But anyways, so we were sitting in church. It was about was it a month? I think it was about a month after that. And I was like being very hormonal. I had in my head too that I wanted another dog for, and like now I know why. It's because I had so many hormones going on, but I wanted another dog. And a big reason was because I'm like, we're gonna have this kid, and I want to still be able to like groom dogs and whatever. And in my brain, my whole life was just going to be taken away from me when I had this kid. I know that's not the case now. I'm in a much better mental health spot, but me and hormones do not mix. I was also very upset that day at church because some of our extended family kept asking Emmer if I was pregnant because we were talking about going and visiting them, and Emmer said, "Oh yes, we are coming." And they're like, "Oh, why didn't you say you and Mary? Why did you say we? Is there a third one on the way?" And I was very upset by that because I'm like, listen, I ain't a baby machine. My name's still Mary. I'm still who I am. Yes, I have those parts in me, and yes, we're trying. But it's something that I was very concerned about and very upset about at the time, is that I would be, lowered or condensed into just a baby making machine, which in some cases I have been to some people, I feel like. But to at least my family, they've been very amazing at asking how I've been doing and making sure that I still feel important and very well taken care of, even though there is a sweet little baby along the way or coming along the way, but they're still making me feel like I'm a human and have a life beyond just being a pregnant lady and a soon-to-be mom. But yeah, so that was that day, and we were sitting in church, and I was upset because I'm like, how dare they insinuate, like, just wait till we tell you, stop, like, judging and being dumb. Again, hormones were going through my head at this time, but we decided, I was like, hey, I am, like, about a week overdue on my period, and my period is pretty uptight about being on time. And so we decided right after church, we ran to Harmon's, got a pregnancy test. I'm like, well, I have to pee, so that's good. Went and peed on the stick. And it was like immediate. There was like no waiting. Immediately, both lines appeared. And I had such a mixed set of emotions at the time. Like, I knew that I was always going to be excited to be a mom. But at the time, I just felt like my whole entire world, well, it is going to change, and it's going to change in a good way, but I felt like everything that I had worked so hard for and like built myself up to be was just going to be taken away from me. And so I cried. I was upset, and Emmer was so excited because he's like, yeah, gonna be a dad. He's so excited to be a dad. But he was trying his best to like consolidate and help me. But yeah, so that was one thing. Well, that was the day we found out we were pregnant. And then that same night we were going to my parents' house, if I remember right. It was either that same night. No, it was that same night, yes. We were going to my parents' house for dinner, and because we do monthly family dinners with them. So we're like, well, perfect timing. We can tell them we're pregnant. So we did, and I was able to like feel better, mainly seeing my family's reactions, but also having my mom there who's gone through it, 3 times, well, more than 3 times, but 3 times all the way through pregnancy. And she was very much, how are you? She even called me after, be like, I could tell something was off, so let's talk. And hormones, then, I figured out that that's what was at play, and I was able to work through that. So that was when we had found out we were pregnant in that day. And that was basically week 4 we found out. By the next week, I was already puking. And I knew that it was a thing, that morning sickness happens. So week 5, start puking everywhere. Luckily, we had gotten my provider. Originally, I was gonna go with LDS Hospital. That's where me and my 2 siblings were born. My mom's OBGYN retired, but the nurse that like really took care of her, especially through all of her miscarriages, was still there. And so that's someone that I trusted because she's very much it was very important to me because of the state of our world right now and the state of women's bodies. With Roe v. Wade being, overturned and people very much pushing their own agendas onto women's bodies, it was very important to me that I had a doctor that looked after my health and the baby's health, but my health first, because if I'm not doing okay, obviously the baby's not doing okay. So that was very important. I wanted someone very based in science, not based in, their own thoughts, views, or political beliefs, or not political, religious beliefs, I should say. And so we called them up. They ended up being, of course, out of network because that's how insurance works here in America. But she was very sweet. She's like, if you haven't found anyone by 12 weeks, give me a call and I'll take care of you. Like, we'll figure it out. But after she gave us a couple recommendations, one of which is the one we're seeing right now, our OBGYN, which is Dr. Abby Watkins up at the University of Utah. She is absolutely amazing. She had glowing reviews from my mom's nurse, but then everyone we've talked to, even they're like the nursing staff that comes in and does your not your blood test, but they take like your what is it? Why can't I think of it? Your blood pressure, that's what it is. They take your blood pressure, your oxygen levels, and they weigh you at the beginning of each appointment. All of them were like, Abby's great. If I were to have more kids, I'd have it with her if me and my husband were still doing that. So very glowing reviews, and she's been absolutely phenomenal. But we ended up getting with her very early on. She couldn't see us until, I think it was week 11, I want to say, was when our first appointment was. She said that was fine, which I didn't know anything because, again, first pregnancy. Anyways, the next week, week 5, I already started being just terribly sick and throwing up and, just nausea everywhere. It was only 1 or 2 times a day, but I was like, I feel like after reading, my parents got us What to Expect When You're Expecting as our, pre-pregnancy, well, our pregnancy gift, or one of our pregnancy gifts. So they got us that, and reading that and reading people's experiences online, I was experiencing nausea much earlier than a lot of people do. Most people, it starts around week 6 to 8, but mine was already starting at week 5. So I went ahead, gave them a call. I was just like, there has to be something. I know there's something for me to take because my mom took it. My aunts have taken stuff and they've told me about it. So please give me something prescribed. We went up there, did our first little ultrasound. We saw our little baby. For the very first time, it was just a tiny little dot. And both me and Emma were, on the verge of tears when we saw it. We're like, okay, there is something there. It's not just in my brain, but there is something in my little belly. So that was a good peace of mind, and everything looked good. It was planted in the uterus instead of in a fallopian tube, so we didn't have to worry about that, and everything was good. They even were able to hear, it wasn't technically a heartbeat because the heart wasn't even formed yet, if I was reading the book correctly, but they're able to detect a heartbeat or a electronic difference essentially, that meant baby was doing okay. But yeah, and then they prescribed me just Zofran, which is very typical for most pregnant ladies. They'll get on Zofran when they're dealing with morning sickness. That did not work for me at all. They also had me on, was it vitamin B6, and I forgot the other thing. It's basically in sleeping aids. There's a very specific, it's not a very specific compound that helps, but you have to do what. Are you serious? Are you serious right now? She's like, yes, Mom. She dropped her ball down the stairs, so she had to run and get it, of course. Anyways, so they put me on vitamin B6, and then I forgot the other thing, but it's in sleeping aids, and you have to do a titration of it. So what that means is you take half a pill of B6 in the morning, and then another half at lunchtime, and another half at nighttime. That helped once I upped the dosage, because you up the dosage over the course of a few days. That did start to help me come week 6 a little bit. but it wore off very, very quickly. Essentially what it is B6, and I think it's Unisom is the other thing what it's called, but they essentially connect to the nerves. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna like have to put them away in a second. But essentially they connect to the ends of like the nerves or the synapses in the brain that where the brain tells your stomach it's nauseous or it's sick, because with morning sickness you're really not sick. Your body is adjusting to all these hormones, and a lot of these hormones are telling your brain, hey, you need to throw up. Hey, this is not normal, throw up. Which is true. I mean, you're growing a foreign being inside of you. Half of it is not even your own DNA. And by the time, baby's formed, even though it is half your DNA and then half your partner's, the new stranded DNA, your body doesn't really recognize it. So there's a lot of like miracles that go on. And a lot of them, manifest in the form of morning sickness, but luckily, our baby was okay. But anyway, so we did that. Week 6, it was pretty okay. And then week 7, it got really bad. Girls, hey. Thank you. Week 7 was not very great. I want to say that's when I went back. No, I think it was week 8 or 9. I went back. It was week 9. I went back in because I could hardly even keep water down. Weeks 6 and 7, I was eating mainly just like I did, it was wheat toast with some butter and bananas on top. That was like mainly what I was eating for those 2 weeks, and some Spanish rice. And the Spanish rice really like settled well in my tummy, and at least there was a few more nutrients than just plain rice. I felt good about that. But by week 8, I could hardly even keep water down. And the weekend, we called on, it was like late Friday night. And luckily, the University of Utah has a 24-hour health team there at their hospital, especially in their OBGYN unit. And there's a nurse on call to help. So she got back to us and was basically saying, if you're not throwing up more than 8 times a day, which is a lot. I was only throwing up 3 to 4 times a day at that point, so not quite that many. Or if you legitly, you just can't keep any water down, then go into the ER and get essentially an infusion. They couldn't really do a feeding tube because it's still going to my stomach, and so my stomach would then just throw back up the feeding tube, is what they said that they saw in most women. There is a way, I forgot how it is, but there is a way that they can give you food, because there's a lady in my mother's neighborhood, her daughter's pregnant, and she has so severe, much worse than what I had, morning sickness, where she just can't eat or drink anything. She's constantly getting IVs, and it's not a feeding tube, but they're able to feed her nutrients. I forgot how they do it. I think it's by the little ports. They can put a port into your intestine or something. But that's how she has to get fed. But we were worried that I had that for a little while. Anyways, week 9, we had the doctor's appointment on Monday. We go in and they have you pee in a cup because they want to test your urine, especially during the first trimester, as your chance of being dehydrated is so high because you are throwing up so much and you have such huge food aversions. Which is weird. I didn't have food aversions. I just felt so sick all the time. I couldn't eat anything or keep anything down besides sometimes bagels. But even on the occasion, bagels and white bread, I was throwing up, and rice. So even then, I'm like, this isn't working. But anyway, so we get into the doctor on Monday. So very literally week 9, day 1. And the cute nurse that had been helping me through my morning sickness, She was like, girl, if you had gotten in contact with me, I would have told you to go get an IV because you are dehydrated. So they got me an IV right then and there, and they can put in some anti-nausea medicine. They prescribed me actually because I had called one other time during, I think it was week 7, when it was starting to get really bad again. They prescribed me like 2 other pills. And they're like, just always be taking something. So every about 2 to 3 hours, I was taking some form of anti-nausea pill, and that even was not working for me. And they prescribed me though at week 9. They then prescribed me. She's like, okay, this is kind of like the last really pill that we have, but it's a suppository. For those of you that don't know what that means, it goes up your asshole. So you literally take it, you put some lube on this like white capsule, and you shove it up your butt. Not a fun time, but I mean, luckily I was very constipated, because that's another pregnancy symptom is you can't poop very easily. That is a whole different reason. And I just didn't have any food in me, so nothing was coming out. And so it worked really well for me because I had a hard time even keeping pills down at that time. I was constantly throwing up my anti-nausea pills. But anyways, so they gave that to me, and that throughout weeks 9 and 10 was like a lifesaver. I was able to eat like still pretty bland foods, but I was able to keep most of the things down. I was still throwing up about once or twice a day. Usually it was just stomach acid or water, so not as bad, but still not fun because you're still throwing up. But that also though made me just so incredibly I was just out of it. Like I could hardly get out of bed because I was so tired. I could not drive because I was so out of it. So Emma had to drive me everywhere. My mom was so nice. She came and would pick me up. I live like 45 minutes away from her. So she'd come and drive an hour, pick me up, bring me to my IV infusion appointments, which luckily the U has like a little clinic right like 5 minutes away from where we live. So we would go there and she would spend that time with me as I was hooked up to the IV and then take me back home and make sure I was still okay. But by the end of week 10, I kind of had it with the medication. I hate being out of it. I hate feeling like I can't do anything because it just makes me feel so useless. Even though I'm like, okay, I'm growing a baby in me. Like I'm literally producing human life right now. But I just felt so useless and like I couldn't do anything. And I know Emery was very stressed because he basically had to do all of the housework and all of the normal work, which, welcome to a woman's world. But he was very, very sweet about doing all of that and not complaining very much. But I could tell it was really starting to weigh on him. But yeah, our house was not cleaned for probably a good month, which pretty gross because we have a very sheddy dog named Chani. So her hair was luckily, other than that though, we're very clean people, so it wasn't like crazy. We did have the biggest mountain of laundry that it just wasn't put away because there was other things more important. We were still like cycling the laundry. I could do that throughout the day because that's not a hard thing, but putting the laundry away. So we were just grabbing out of the pile and like throwing it right back into the washer at that point. But luckily we had no visitors. We had nothing. We were eating. Well, I was eating very little. Emmer was, luckily he likes to cook, but I think even he was like, I'm done cooking 2 meals a day. I want to go back to only having to cook my lunch. But yeah, so end of week 10, I was like, this is enough. And so I stopped the Compro, which was the suppository, and I just got back on to, it was called Reglan, was one of the other ones. That one at the end of week 10 worked really, really well for me. I did that through week 11. Week 11 was our first actual doctor's appointment with our OBGYN, Abby, and she was awesome. We went through everything. She did. Technically, I am classified as a high-risk pregnancy because and I've talked very heavily about this, I did have a helix occluder put into my heart when I was 4 years old. At the time, it was just barely approved by the FSA for human trials, And from what I was told, I was the 13th person to have it put in me, which is why the number 13 is my lucky number, or another reason. But because it's such new technology, and like I know that it was 24 years ago when that was put in, and I was cleared at age 18 by my was a pediatric cardiologist, lots of big words, to do all normal adult things. I played soccer all growing up and was just fine. I had no issues with any of that and lived a very normal, healthy childhood. And then I was cleared, but pregnancy changes a lot of things. Right now I'm pumping anywhere between 30 to 50% more blood in my body, which is a lot. And so my heart has to pump harder. It has to pump both for me and baby. And like as baby grows, your organs get squished upwards, including your heart and lungs, actually. It's not just your stomach. All of that gets pushed up and your heart and lungs get squished up as well. So she just wants to make sure we're still okay. She's treating it right now as if it was a normal, hole in the heart surgery, even though it was not. And I now have like healthy tissue all around it. Actually, Wednesday, that's one of my doctor's appointments. We're going to meet with a adult cardiologist to get an echocardiogram. Had plenty of those done before in my life, plenty of those EKGs. I even had an MRI on my heart at one point, I remember. All sorts of tests when I was little. So yeah, I gotta go get an echocardiogram, and hopefully the doctor clears me for normal labor. And well, I don't know if I want normal labor delivery or a C-section yet. Both not fun. But one has like so much lead up, and then you give birth, and then there's a possibility you get stitches down there and you have to heal that too. The other one, they cut you open, and it's like, I don't want to say it's easier, but you don't have to go through all the all the labor of your cervix growing and dilating and all that. At least unless you do labor and then they figure out, hey, baby's too big, or there's a complication and you have to get a C-section, then you do both, and that would suck. But anyway, so doctor essentially is either going to clear me to do a normal labor and delivery. My OBGYN's biggest concern with my heart is that it will hold up while pushing at the baby out during labor and delivery, which that would be terrible if I made it that far and then just killed over. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, worst case scenario, it seems like, is we would just get a C-section instead, which I'm not 100% opposed to it. We'll see when we get closer. Right now, I'm like kind of 50-50. I keep going back and forth. Emmer's very sweet about, just talking through it all with me, about kind of what we want our birth plan to look like if we had the option. Honestly, I would kind of be happy not to have the option, just for them to be like, we're just going to do a C-section. I'd be like, cool. I'm glad someone told me what to do for once. At least in this pregnancy, instead of leaving a bunch of things up to us. But anyway, so that's why I'm classified as a high-risk pregnancy. But I do not have to have weight limit. That's actually, we learned that at our last doctor's appointment. So I can continue grooming all dogs, no matter how big. Obviously, if they're yanking me around, we might need some help there. Or trying to jump off the table, because that's an issue too. But as of right now, no weight restriction needed for work, so that's really nice. Anyways, my first appointment, that's what we went through mainly, was that. Just because she wanted clarification on that and wanted to make sure we have all the checks and balances. That's also where we found out that my baby has a higher risk of having a hole in their heart. And so July, not June, but in July, we get to go to Primary Children's. We're going to the one in Lehigh because it's closer. But I'm so excited to be back at Primary Children's. That's where my heart surgery was done and where my pediatric cardiologist was. I spent so much time. at least that I remember in my childhood, up there. Not really that much time. It was like we had to go up there after the surgery. It was a lot more frequent, but as I grew up, they were like spaced out for like, every 5 years you'll come back, or every 2 years you'll come back and have her heart checked out again. So, but good memories of primary children's. They're amazing. And so, yeah, so we get to have a fetal echocardiogram. It'll be week 23. Really, really cool that they can actually do this and they have that technology, which makes sense because an echocardiogram, basically, it's just an ultrasound of your heart. And so a fetal echocardiogram, they do an ultrasound of baby's heart, which, as we learned at our, our 12-week, it was technically 13-week, ultrasound, you can see all of baby's organs, which is really cool, and they can see how they're developing. So it makes sense that they could do a fetal echocardiogram. But we're doing that in a couple months, in a month and a half, I guess, technically. So excited for that, to see how baby's doing. Those are the two big things that our OBGYN wanted us to get done and look into to make sure that both me and baby are taken care of. Hopefully, worst case scenario is if baby does have a hole in their heart, they can just have the exact same surgery I did, which instead of breaking open the whole chest and cutting it all open, they're able to go through an artery. I believe it's an artery or a vein, I forget which one, but an artery in the leg, right in the upper thigh. They just stick a needle right into that thigh, and it goes up. There's I believe that there's a tiny little camera to guide it, but the device essentially, it's like a wire, and it goes through the hole, and then the first side opens up and clamps down, and it's like it will open up. They call it my dad called it a balloon always, and it does you can look it up on YouTube, it's really cool. But essentially it balloons up, it's a bunch of wires, and then it has, and they're titanium, at least the ones in my heart are titanium. I think they use different ones nowadays from what I was reading, but metal grade titanium. But essentially the wires kind of spin out, and then it becomes one of those wire flower things essentially that people make. And then it's not paper. I don't know what the substance is in between them that seals up in between all the wires, but it is a surgical grade something, I don't know, at least a solid material, and it becomes a flat disc, and it clamps to one side of the heart, and then they pull the tube back a little bit, and the other side does the same thing. So the other side, the wires will balloon up, clamp down, and clamp onto the other side of the hole. And over time, and it's they have them bigger than the hole so that, it's not it's gonna just go through and land in your heart. It's very secure against that hole. But then over time, normal heart tissue grows on either side and kind of seals it in. And then that way your hole is technically repaired pretty naturally, even though there's still titanium in my heart. But a lot better than having to rip open all of your, chest, break ribs, and do surgery on your heart. So hopefully that's all my baby would have to have done if they do have that heart defect. But we will see in a couple months. Well, not a couple months, a month and a half. I keep forgetting that it's the end of May already. It's crazy. So yeah, that through our first appointment, and slowly I kept weaning off of my medication. I was on Reglan. Reglan still at that point though, I just had so much medication in me still that it was still making me super loopy and super drowsy. I had been off work for basically a whole month, maybe month and a half at this point, and I was really wanting to get back. So the next week, I got off, or week 11. So the week 11, I even got off of the Reglan and went solely onto, I believe it was omeprazole or something. It's technically one they prescribe for heartburn, but it helps essentially just make sure that your esophagus isn't dying from all the acid that comes up from throwing up or from heartburn. So I went on to that. That helped quite a bit, and I was, I was still throwing up about once a day, but that was a lot better than what I had been. I was able to keep down quite a bit. We went down out and got like sushi, of course, like a lot more still like very what is it? Very mild food. Um but yeah, that was through week 11 and 12. Week 12 was pretty great, and then week 13 kind of slumped back a little bit, but week 12 was the end of the first trimester. That's also when I started trying my chai again. I had stopped drinking my chai every day, actually, at all, because it tasted so bad. Like, there was like week 6, taste buds, smells, everything was just awful. And that included the chai, which was always something that tasted so great. So it was a big turn off when that tasted bad. So I just stopped drinking it for like 2 months. But I was like, it has ginger in it, and ginger is supposed to help calm the tummy. So we tried that again in week 12, and it did help, and it did taste good this time. My taste buds had calmed down because the hormones had started to calm down. So that was a good kind of end of the first trimester. And then right after that, we had our first trimester ultrasound. Ours was done, I think it was week 13, if I remember right. Yes, because it was 2 weeks after my 11 week. Technically, you're supposed to get it done between 10 and 12 weeks, but the University of Utah was totally booked, and so we had it done at 13 weeks, which was just fine. They said baby looked very, very healthy, and everything was going as normal. Our baby, during the ultrasound, was moving all over the place. I don't know how early they're supposed to move, but my goodness, up and down, wiggling. They kept like their legs together. They would move their arms a little bit. It was really cute, but they kept their legs kind of crossed, which meant we couldn't see for certain the gender, but that's okay because we just got the cfDNA test drawn last week. But yeah, week 12 or week 13, depending on what book you're reading, is the end of the first trimester. So that is the real of my first trimester experience. Absolutely terrible. I've never been so sick in my life, not even with COVID. Oh, week 11 too. This is something new because good old RFK Jr. Decided now that he is telling the CDC and everyone to not recommend the COVID vaccine or the COVID booster to pregnant mothers and children, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. I want to say stronger words. I probably should in this video. But he's not a health professional. He should not get to decide that. I got my COVID booster. Well, so I got my original COVID shot in like 2020. I was not one of the first, but I was like one of the first waves to get it because I was a flight attendant. And they made, United especially, was the big pusher, at least at the Denver International Airport where I was stationed at, to get people to get them if they wanted. So we were able to get COVID vaccines pretty early on, which made it really awesome. I guess it was in 2020. Was it 2021? It might have been. But it was right when they were coming out. And then I got a booster. I think the first booster was 6 months after, if I remember right, because I got the booster still at the airport. And then a year later, me and my husband got our second boosters with our flu shot. No, I actually got 3 boosters in because I got it first year we were married. I went and got flu shot and booster, and that was not very bad. The next year, we also got flu and booster together, me and my husband. And that one was awful. That one took both of us out for a good 2 days. But then I didn't get it last year. And that was because insurance no longer covered it. And so we just did not get it. Also, it was not offered at the doctor's office we went to that year, so we just didn't get it. But COVID with pregnant ladies has been shown to cause birth defects, which is terrible, and premature births, and all sorts of other things. Plus, I would not want COVID if I was also pregnant. Like, that sounds terrible. You're already in so much pain. You're already throwing up. Your nose is already congested. Like, why would you want more of that? It's already hard to breathe, too. I'm getting to that stage where breathing is starting to, it's not like super laborious, but there are moments in the day where I'm like, I am out of breath and I am not doing anything. Um, but I don't want any of that on top of my pregnancy, so I'm very glad I got mine 11 weeks before any of this came out. My OBGYN recommended it. She gave those same exact reasons, and I was like, let's do it. I don't want my baby having COVID, and my baby gets those same immune boosters now that I have them as well, because my blood is their blood right now. So very grateful that we got that. But that made me very mad when I saw RFK is not only him and the rest of the, Trump administration, they do not only want to force mothers or women to become mothers if, they wanted an abortion or not, or if they weren't ready to have a baby or not, or if they got raped or not. But not only are they then forcing them to become mothers, but they are now also telling which medical decisions they can and cannot make for their baby, which to me, you choose one or the other. Like, it sucks that we have to live in a world where Roe v. Wade is overturned right now, at least, and that women don't get that choice, because after living through the first trimester, I could not have done it without an amazing support system, especially my amazing husband and my mom and dad, and my brother and sister. While we're at it, they were amazing, checking in on me all the time. But if I was a single woman and found out I was pregnant, I could not have done it. I could not have sat out of work for, a month and a half. I would not have been able to pay rent. And so there's just, and there was no way I could get to work in the state that I was because of how terribly sick I was. And the terrible thing is, you just have no way of knowing how sick you're going to get until you're there. Like, you can look at genetics, but if you don't have a great relationship or haven't talked about it with your mom and aunts and grandma before, you just don't know. In our family, we have terrible morning sickness. My Nana had IVs because she was dehydrated. My aunts had IVs because they were dehydrated. And my mom, she just was nauseous the entire time, which she said that she didn't throw up a lot, but it was very hard for her to keep food down and to want to eat a lot of the time because she was so nauseous. So we have terrible genes in our family, and I am very jealous of every pregnant woman that loves being pregnant, and it's the best thing ever. And they just they feel like a huge glow up, and they just have, a couple weeks of being a little nauseous, and they go back on their merry way. But not in this family. In this family, we have terrible morning sickness, and it really sucks. But anyways, I guess the big takeaway is I haven't felt stronger, too, in my life than I have now, having made it through all that. I know that I still have a long ways to go. We still have 22 weeks, I believe, now. Yes. Wait, no, what week are we? We're week 16. No, don't get ahead of yourself, Mary. We have 24 weeks to go. So still quite a ways, but I have not felt stronger and more proud of myself in my life than ever. And I've done a lot of hard things. I did flight attendant training. That was difficult. Flight attendant training during COVID. That was very difficult. I played competition soccer all growing up. That was difficult, but the most difficult thing has definitely been this pregnancy so far. Luckily, we're healthy now. We can eat basically normal foods again. But my goodness, women are so incredibly powerful. Whether you had an easy pregnancy or a hard one like mine so far. And if you're a man, make sure that you respect women. I know that we can be hormonal, or, sometimes we like things a very particular way. A lot of that's because of how we were raised, so you can blame our moms. But at the end of the day, we are super strong and we go through a lot to make sure that humanity and life on Earth continues to blossom. So, next time you see the woman in your life, whether that's your mom, your sister, or your significant other, or your daughter, tell them how much you love them and how strong they are. Because we don't get to hear that a lot of the time. It's always how pretty we are, but we are very strong too. So, yeah, I think that's really it. I guess I'll do another one of these at the end of my second trimester. Oh yeah, I didn't start showing because a lot of women are like, when do you start showing? I didn't start showing until really week 14, I'd say, was when I started showing. That is really when I started putting weight back on. I guess I didn't tell you guys how much weight I lost too. I lost almost 15 pounds the first trimester. 15 pounds. I was telling Emmer, so my normal healthy weight is anywhere between 130 and 135 pounds. And if you had asked high school me if I'd be okay with that, I would have been appalled because during high school I was very consistently 125 pounds until senior year. And then I went a little bit up. I was closer to 130 senior year, and that made me so incredibly self-conscious. And I thought that was the reason no boys were dating me. That I actually starved myself it was about a month. It wasn't totally starving. I was still eating a little bit of food, but I had dramatically cut what I was eating to almost nothing. And that was because I thought I was fat at 128 pounds, which is ridiculous. Looking back on it, I was not fat. Yes, I had friends that were a little bit skinnier, but everybody's different. Mine was fine. I was a very healthy weight. But I have not been that skinny down to 120 pounds since my senior year of high school when I started myself. And that's what this pregnancy did to me. But I have gained it back. I'm now at 130 pounds. I'm back on a healthy weight gain. You want to be gaining about a pound a week. I started gaining weight back around weeks, I want to say 13 and 14 was when it really started showing. And yeah, but you want to be gaining about a pound a week for pregnancy. They say besides your first trimester. Luckily in your first trimester, your baby is so small that it'll just, it's not taking a ton of nutrients, and whatever nutrients it needs, it takes from mother, which is why all my fat went away. So that's why I tell my husband I'm cold all the time now. Baby ate all my fat, so that's why I'm cold. But yeah, that was crazy. I forgot where I was at before that. I got healthy weight gain now. We're back at 130, so not quite to where I was, but I've gained back a good healthy amount, which thank goodness, because now baby needs it, because baby's starting to grow. But yeah, we'll do another one of these at my second trimester. Oh, I started showing around week 14. That's right. That's really when I started having a belly. And that's also really when clothes started to become uncomfortable for me, I will say. Yeah, and it wasn't a huge belly. It was just, and the belly, it's very interesting. My belly fluctuates throughout the day. I bet a lot of pregnant women find this, especially in the early stages. And a lot of this is because your digestive tract is slowed way down during pregnancy. And a lot of that is so that food travels slower through your intestines, so that you can collect more nutrients from the food you eat, because, you need more nutrients because you're growing human. But that also makes you be bloated and constipated. And so because of that, my stomach usually, now I have a decent stomach in the morning, decent belly that I'm showing in the morning, I guess. But, oh my goodness, baby, what are you doing? She wormed her way back into this little crevice. But anyways, it will get bigger throughout the day as I eat more, and then overnight my food digests, at least fully. It goes a little more through my intestines, and then I'm back to my smaller belly in the morning. But most of my belly week 14 was from food, and it was just a little bit from baby. But it makes sense, because baby during your first trimester, if this is the pelvis, it sits right in the pelvis because it's small enough. And then it grows and it kind of it lifts off of your bladder and out of your pelvis and into your stomach area. So that's kind of where ours is at now. My uterus is actually about up to my belly button now, according to all of the books and online resources that I have been reading. So really crazy because it starts out like your uterus is tiny to begin with. Not tiny, but it's a small organ and then it grows to be huge. But yeah, crazy. Our bodies are amazing. Love your body today too. Just give it some love, whatever that is, if that's giving it a treat or a nutritious snack or just telling it thank you because they do a lot for us. But yeah, I'm going to end this video now because this is almost an hour long. We're at 50 minutes. Wow. Yeah, I will do another one of these at the end of my second trimester. So far a lot better than the first. We're liking it a lot better. So yeah, we're going on 4 months pregnant now actually, which is crazy to think about because for 2 of those I was so sick I could hardly get out of bed. I'm very happy to be on my feet now and being back at work and doing what I love. So yes, hopefully it just continues to be better. But yeah, have a great rest of your day. Love yourself. Love the women in your life. Tell them that they're strong. And we will see you when we see you next. Not next week, because that is doctor's appointments. Hopefully the week after. Yes, bye-bye.